Well, hi everybody, this is DearMamaSal, and we are live for Soul Sunday. For those of you who are new to Soul Sunday, let me tell you how it goes. Soul Sunday is a much slower broadcast. We do it almost like a meditation. We don't do a lot of chit-chat in between. We might do some towards the end of it, but basically we're looking to just relax and slow ourselves down, ready for the coming week. Hi there to Nana, hi to Isabel, and hi to Jody. And so what I'd like you to do is just take a deep breath and relax. Take a deep breath and relax. For those of you who are new, we welcome you and feel free to either listen in or just be with us for this time. If you enjoy what we do 3 broadcasts a week, 2 on a Friday. These are Pacific times. We do noon, and again at 7 on a Friday. And then this broadcast where we do 3:30 Pacific time on a Sunday. And those are almost every single week of the year. Occasionally I have to cancel them due to ill health or some other plans that have got in the way. But basically we just about do that 24/7. So a very, very big welcome to everybody, and my thanks to the viewers who have been with me for so much time. I'd like to thank all of you who know that this today, August the 25th, is the anniversary of Dear Mama Sal. It started 10:30 at night on August the 25th. And so that was, wow, 7 years ago now, right? But so that is amazing that we have been able to do that for that long, and I'm very grateful to you all. So I wanted to just say that today we're going to talk about self-love, how to love ourselves. And I'm going to start with a quote from Wayne Dyer, and he said, "How people treat you is their karma. How you react is yours." And so during this week, try and concentrate on that if you can. People can push your buttons, but how you react is on you. And so take a deep breath and just work on doing what you can not to get triggered by people this week. Eckhart Tolle said that life will give you whatever experience is most helpful for the evolution of your consciousness. How do you know this to be the experience that you need? Because this is the experience you are having at this moment. Have any of you noticed that? It seems like your learning comes in waves. I had a week where my patience was challenged. And it was just like every day I woke up and there was another challenge to my patience. And I just, had to realize that that was my lesson for the week. I needed to work on it and to learn just to breathe through these things. I'm not perfect at it yet, and you're probably not perfect at it either. But it keeps coming, therefore I keep learning. Confucius said, "When you see a good person, think of becoming like him or her. When you see somebody not so good, reflect on your own weak points." It was really interesting this week. I had somebody come back into my life that had really treated me quite badly some time ago. And I was shocked. I went, why did this person come back into my life? Well, they were in need of my help. And, it was strange because I really was challenged on that one. And I went, twice I have helped that person out of the gutter. And, I think it's enough now. They need to do it for themselves. It's like, but I understood that it took some courage to contact me. And, you know, my life is such at the moment that I'm not in a position to be able to help them. So I look at all that going, you know, it is what it is, unfortunately. Karma comes after everyone eventually. You can't get away with screwing people over your whole life. There you go. I don't care who you are. What goes around comes around, and that's how it works. Sooner or later, the universe will serve you the revenge that you deserve. I find that a little, I don't like revenge as a tactic myself. I don't like tactics, actually. I don't like revenge. I'm a great believer that, you know, karma is karma, but I don't think about it in terms of revenge. It was said that even if things don't unfold the way you expected, don't be disheartened or give up. One who continues to advance will win in the end. Yes, you know, it's interesting, isn't it, how many plans we make with our conscious minds, and then we find out God has a totally different plan for us. And that's why I encourage people to be a little bit flexible, because, you know, your idea might not be the one that is planned for you. John Donahue said, if you send out goodness from yourself, or if you share that which is happy or good within you, it will come back to you multiplied 10,000 times. In the kingdom of love, there is no competition. There is no possessiveness or control. The more love you give away, the more love you will have. And I think that's beautiful, don't you? And by the way, if you didn't see it on the Facebook page this morning, at the DearMamaSal Facebook page, I found this incredible little moment where two twins were born, and the first thing that they did was literally try to hold hands and then achieve it. And it was just like, wow, isn't that amazing? They've lived together, you know, all these months, and the first thing they do in the real world is they want to hold hands. And somebody said, I was in the biggest breakdown of my life when I stopped crying long enough to let the words of my epiphany really sink in. Karma had finally made her way around and had just, she used some words I don't want to use online, slapped me right across the face. The realization made me cry harder. I wonder if any of you have had that happen, where you judge somebody for something and then within a few months you end up in the same situation that they were in, and you realize that was karma. It is impossible to build one's own happiness on the unhappiness of others. This perspective is at the heart of the Buddhist teachings. It is impossible to build one's own happiness on the unhappiness of others. Work really hard this week at not being resentful, not hating people, not judging wherever you can. As I said, I'm not perfect at these things either, so it is a lesson for all of us. In Vanishing Acts, it was said, is fate getting what you deserve or deserving what you get? The law is simple, Ben Okri said. Every experience is repeated or suffered till you experience it properly and fully the first time. Hi, Ben. right? Every experience is repeated or suffered until you experience it properly for the first time. In other words, these lessons are going to keep coming at you, the same one. How many times have you said to yourself, okay, I've got that one now, and then it comes back? Well, apparently you haven't quite got it. You're close, but you haven't quite got it. Like gravity, karma is so basic, we often don't even notice it. All right, now that we've got ourselves in that right mind frame, I just want to move over to it's your birthday tomorrow. It's DearMamaSal, the channel's birthday today. Yeah. 10:30 at night. All right, here we go. Are we ready for this, right? Love yourself first and everything else falls into line. Love yourself first. Look after yourself. It is wonderful to look after others. And for some of you, part of your being is looking after others. That is who you are at your soul. But that, in a way, is self-love as well. How many of you feel that? How many of you feel that you are in a better space when you are giving? And for those of you who like acronyms, you know, there's little words that spell out things. Fly. First, love yourself. Fly. Others will come next. Good, Beth. I'm pleased to hear it. Beth is saying that she's loving herself for her birthday and every day. I've made it 49 years. Yes, and I cannot believe that I have made it next Friday to 72 of them. You know, it's just amazing. Eat like you love yourself. Move like you love yourself. Speak like you love yourself. Act like you love yourself. You are always with yourself, so you might as well enjoy the company. Think about that. You are always with yourself, so you might as well enjoy the company. You know, take yourself out for a walk and hear what you have to say to yourself. Louise Hay, who I quote often, said, loving ourselves works miracles in our lives. And I really do believe that. In order to be healed, for a lot of people, it is time to start looking after yourself as much as you look after others. You know, I was at the doctor this week, and I was discussing with him the difference between the word mitigation and excuse. And I said to him, you know, I want to tell you what happened to me this month, but my concern is it a mitigating factor or an excuse? And I think it's mitigating. And he just rolled his eyes and got on the internet and checked the true meaning of mitigating factor. And basically what it is a mitigating factor is something that happens to you about which you have no control. Whereas an excuse is where you had a choice. Does that make sense? So a mitigating factor is something over which you have no control. And an excuse, somebody hands you birthday cake, you can choose whether to eat it or not. And, if you get struck by lightning, you didn't get a choice in that one. I am learning to love myself. It's the hardest thing I have ever done. Not sure who said that, but boy, I relate to that. I think sometimes we look at loving ourselves and think we're being selfish. I don't think that's true. I think you're being smart. Love yourself first, because that is the one you'll be spending the rest of your life with. Loving yourself starts with liking yourself, which starts with respecting yourself, which starts with thinking of yourself in positive ways. I start each day with an affirmation. I wonder if you do. I'm just going to see if I can quickly get it up for you. Because, to me, it's really important. I just have to find it because it's gets passed on to the next day every day. All right, so this, because of the stress that is going on in my life at the moment, I start each day with all is unfolding as it should. I do not need to fear. One step at a time, I can do this in serenity. And that's the first thing that comes up on my list of things to do every day. I start with that. And sometimes, if it's very stressful that particular day, I will put it through so it pops up a few times during the day. I want to remind myself to take a break from what's going on and to just be in the moment. I don't succeed all the time, but it helps ground me a little. Work on being in love with the person in the mirror who has been through so much, but is still standing. Which is what Beth was saying, all right? That she loves herself for having survived the last 49 years and is really looking forward to the next 49, I'm sure. How about this for a really wonderful quote? Katrina Mayer said, loving yourself isn't vanity, it is sanity. Loving yourself isn't vanity, it is sanity. Steve Maraboli said, love yourself first, enough to take the actions required for your own happiness, enough to cut yourself loose from the drama-filled past, enough to set a high standard for your relationships, enough to feed your mind and body in a healthy manner, enough to forgive yourself, and enough to move on. Wow, isn't that wonderful? I'm going to read that again. Love yourself enough to take the actions required for your happiness, enough to cut yourself loose from the drama-filled past, enough to set a high standard for relationships, enough to feed your mind and body in a healthier manner, and enough to forgive yourself, enough to move on. Wow. That's a great affirmation to start your day with. Okay, now this one, this one will make some of you smile. The more you love yourself, the less nonsense you will tolerate. And what if you simply devoted the rest of the year to loving yourself more? I wonder what would change. And how about fall in love with taking care of yourself? Mind, body, and spirit. And for those of you in relationships of whatever sort, the fact that someone else loves you doesn't recuse you from the project of loving yourself. It always amazes me, and forgive me for an aside here, whenever I wear this color, I'm amazed how it brings out the green in my eyes. I just noticed it now. We must fall in love with ourselves. I don't like myself. I'm crazy about myself. Mae West said that, very famous actress from way back when. Falling in love with yourself first does not make you vain or selfish. It makes you indestructible. How many of you have felt that when you truly have self-love, what's going on around you just doesn't affect you as much? You're not constantly blown off course. You are occasionally if you're human, but you're not constantly blown off course. I find as well, I don't know if any of you have noticed this, but I find that the more I learn and the more I work on my emotional intelligence, the less I want to work with drama, right? The less I want all the drama. If you're good at loving yourself, you will have a difficult time loving anyone. If you aren't good at loving yourself, you will have a difficult time loving anyone, since you resent the time and energy you give another person that you aren't even giving to yourself. Yeah, that is an interesting one. I'm amazed how many people will have plenty of time to take their neighbor to the doctor, but not necessarily themselves. Have you met people like that? Plenty of people who have enough time to bake for other people, but don't bake for themselves. And it is an interesting anomaly that happens. And if you find yourself doing that, promise yourself that you're going to make time to do that for yourself and keep that promise. Loving yourself is the greatest revelation. Have unshakable faith in yourself to become everything you want to be. Have unshakable faith in yourself to become everything you want to be. And I don't know what your goals are for the coming year, starting now. But you may think about that. What is it you want to learn? And for those of you who like to make a difference, and I know a lot of you do, I want to thank you, because what we found out during our Friday noon broadcast was, a lot of difference. People are making a lot of difference in the way they use plastic, single-use plastic. And it was amazing to see that. A lot of people are making a difference in the way they use packaging. A lot of people, and it was just like, wow, we just did a simple broadcast. And it was amazing how many people could say that since that broadcast, things have changed for them because they chose to make a difference. And if you don't love yourself, nobody else is going to love you. Be gentle with yourself. Learn to love yourself, to forgive yourself. Learn to love yourself, to forgive yourself. For only as we have the right attitude towards ourselves can we have the right attitude. You, yourself, as much as anybody on the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. You do. If you have the ability to love yourself first. I would also like to say, if you have the ability to protect yourself first. If you have the ability to share with yourself first. I'm thinking how, it's funny, I keep Saturdays as a day that I do very little on DearMamaSal because I keep it as a day for me to do the things I want to do. And I started yesterday by bringing out some art that I wanted to work on. And do you know that I got so busy doing other things, I never did get to it. But it's still out and waiting for me to get to tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. Demonstrate love by giving it unconditionally to yourself. And as you do, you will attract others into your life who will love you without conditions. Love yourself enough to set boundaries. Your time and energy are precious. You get to choose how you use it. You teach people how to treat you by deciding what you will and won't accept. Maxwell Maltz, I read quite a few of his books in my earlier years, and I really enjoyed what he had to say. He wrote one called Believe, and it really moved me quite a lot. And he said, low self-esteem is like driving through life with your handbrake on. Maxwell Maltz, if I remember correctly, was a plastic surgeon who did a lot of cosmetic surgery. And he was amazed how many women he made positively beautiful, but they couldn't see it. They were still seeing themselves as the old self rather than the new one. Self-care is never a selfish act. It is simply good stewardship of the only gift I have, the gift I was put on earth to offer to others. I'm thinking, Beth, that, you have learned that looking after you isn't a bad thing. And I love it when I hear that you are taking days off, 2 in a row. I love it when I hear that you're going to look after yourself on your birthday, that you're taking the day off to enjoy it. By the way, for those of you who know Doug, it is also his birthday today, and we're getting together on Wednesday so we can celebrate both his birthday and mine. It is his today and mine on Friday. So every year, as some of you know, we get together just to celebrate our birthdays. Dennis Waitley said, to establish true self-esteem, we must concentrate on our successes and forget about the failures and the negatives in our lives. Concentrate on your successes. What have you done in the last year that was successful? Let's forget about all the ones that were not so successful. What have you done that was successful? Nikki Rose said, don't let hollow heroes distract you from saving yourself. You know, I keep thinking about people who sadly keep repeating the same negative cycle. You know, and they sort of get to grow, and then they find they're responsible and they don't like that, so they start acting out again, start blaming everybody again, and then they end up in the bottom again, and then they dig themselves out again. And you know, they just can't understand that being accountable for yourself is part of the growing process. Self-love, my liege, said William Shakespeare, is not so vile a sin as self-neglecting. Wow, I wonder where he said that. I can't remember that. Jody, please make a note for me to look up that Shakespearean quote. I wonder where it came from. Which of the plays it came from. Encourage yourself to believe in yourself and love yourself. Never doubt who you are. You know, I'm amazed how many times I will have a moment where I say to myself, I wonder if I should continue to do Dear Mama Sal. It happens every now and then. And what always surprises me is almost every time something will happen to make me realize, no, if you had given up doing Dear Mama Sal, you wouldn't have got that email, or you wouldn't have been able to help that person, or, you know, and it's amazing how that reality comes into play if ever I start to doubt the value of what we do. And it is what we do together, not me on my own, in my view. You can receive all the compliments in the world, but that won't do a thing unless you believe in yourself. Spend time understanding who you are. After all, the only person you're ever going to truly love and live with is yourself. Love only yourself a little bit longer, until you can't stand not to love someone else. It's interesting, isn't it? Because for a lot of us, we fell in love with people because they loved us when we couldn't love ourselves. Ah, thank you, Jody. The quote from Shakespeare came from Henry V. Wow. Thank you. How kind of you to take the time. Thank you, Jody. Big round of applause for Jody. Continues to do, I don't know how you do it, Jody. Our self-respect tracks our choices. Every time we act in harmony with our authentic self and our heart, We earn our respect. It's that simple. Every choice matters. Dan Coppersmith said that, and I'm just wondering how many of you can relate to that now that you understand that life is a choice, that loving or hating is a choice, that growing or staying stuck is a choice, that forgiving or resenting is a choice. And our self-respect tracks our choices every time we act in harmony with our authentic self and our heart. We earn our respect. How many of you have noticed that there are days when you go, I was really true to me today. I didn't let people, bend me the wrong way today. I stood up for what I believed today, and I stood up for what I deserved today. And some days I'm pretty sure you smile and go, yeah, I looked after myself today. There is nothing noble about being superior to some other man. True nobility is in being superior to your previous self. Yeah, don't try and beat somebody else. Don't go through life going, oh, I want to be as good as, whoever. Go through life going, I'd like to be a better person tomorrow. And then ask yourself, what would that look like? Am I right that I think it was Abraham Lincoln who constantly worked on a list of pros and cons about himself, the things he liked about himself and the things that he didn't. And he took time working on the things he didn't like about himself until he had them cleared. And then he'd say to himself again, what do I like about myself and what don't I like about myself? And then the things he wrote down on the I don't like side, he took the top 3 and started working on those again. And I wonder how many of you can see that that actually is an incredible way to go through life, to constantly work on the things that you don't like about yourself. A loving person lives in a loving world. A hostile person lives in a hostile world. Everyone you meet is your mirror. Jean Vanier said, growth begins when we start to accept our own weakness. Growth begins when we start to accept our own weakness. I think about how many incredible viewers have we met who came to DearMamaSal and actually admitted a weakness. And by so doing, grew, we watched them grow because they could actually admit that they were not perfect and that they needed to improve on some things. And by doing that, they were able to grow. Beth's going me more than one. Yeah. And you know something, Beth? I think you know that every week I do the same thing. I go, well, I could do with a bit more work on that one. Whatever you are doing, love yourself for doing it. Whatever you are feeling, love yourself for feeling it. I had a difficult week this week with feelings. I had a difficult week this week with emotion. I had a difficult week this week with being judged. And, it is interesting because I just looked at it and I go, well, I guess it's a big learning week. And a week to forgive myself and move on. See it for what it is, a lesson, and move on. Stay true to yourself. An original is worth more than a copy. And how many of you know and really appreciate that you are unique? That, you are the only one like you in the world, right? With your sense of fun, with your sense of value, with your kindness, with your quirky sense of humor, with your ability to be compassionate. You are the only you. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are just tiny matters compared to what lies within us." And I would like to say that at our very core, we are quite nice people. Not all the time, but our very core, we are quite nice people. And we need to love that part of ourselves and grow that part of ourselves. And how about this for a great quote? Be very, very gentle with yourself. The world is very, very hard on you. Isn't that beautiful? Be very, very gentle with yourself. The world is very, very hard on you. To be beautiful means to be yourself. You don't need to be accepted by others. You need to be accepted by yourself. And you were born an original work of art. Stay original always. Originals cost more than imitations. Another way of saying the same thing. Be so aware that you have worth. You know, we let our external bodies, I think one of the greatest things I valued, Jody, when I met you, I valued who you were. And the interesting thing was that I didn't get to see what had happened with your body. I just got to know your mind and your compassion and your kindness. And it was only later that I got to see a physical representation of what, lymphoderma had done to your body. And it's so wonderful because now as I watch you, I see you getting back to your true self and that you are working so hard to create that. And Beth, the opposite, all right, where I got to meet an incredibly smart human being that could pick up concepts very, very quickly. And so quickly that I almost wondered whether, you were real. I always remember saying that to somebody very early on. I wonder if she's a troll. She seemed to be getting this way too fast. And then I found out, no, it's just who you are. And so, I look at it, Beth, and I go, you found out that looking after your body, that I guess you didn't realize that feeding your body this many calories when you are an Energizer bunny expending this many calories more was going to cause for you to get very, very thin. And I love it when I hear now that you can see that you're burning 3,000 calories a day minimum, and you need to be putting, like an athlete, you need to be putting in, enough calories to sustain that. And I also am aware that, if I want to, I am really proud of myself on this score. I was talking about this, that for the first time since my diabetes warning, I found that I lost weight, found out I'd done well, put the weight back on again, worked to drop it, found out I'd done well, put the weight back on again, but it was doing this. This is the first time that I got the reading and I didn't jump. So I am really happy that I have learned to control that. even though I don't feel that I'm doing very well. I have virtual proof that I am. And I just want to show you again, because it's important that you see, right, the spike, the drop, the spike, the drop, the big spike, the big drop, the spike, the drop, and then guess what? No spike. It took me nearly 6 months to learn not to spike after I got tested. So I can be aware that I can do it. Even though my blood sugars are not liking it, I can be aware that I'm doing it, and I don't have to spike to celebrate. It is an interesting thing for me. And somebody said, your problem is you're too busy holding on to your unworthiness. So I want to believe that I am worthy of losing weight and continuing to lose it in what I am doing. Well, yeah, Jody is saying, and I'm so glad to be here to witness every step of this wellness journey that we're on. Yes, and I thank Beth for triggering that in me. Isn't it funny, Beth? It really is funny, because, I heard you talk about your snacks, and I'm going, I could never do that. And then one day I heard you talk about you'd picked up a Starbucks protein box. And I'm going, what's that? And it's really funny, Beth, because I actually went to Google and I Googled, the Starbucks protein boxes. And when I looked at them and I went, I could do that. And that started me on my wellness journey. Jody said that she was fasting, and I was terrified. That can't be good, especially for somebody who has blood sugar issues. That can't be good. And that caused me to go check it out. And what did I find? Yes, it can be. And now, Jody, how do I thank you? I sit here and I have probably already fasted 17 hours as I talk to you right now. And so it'll be, 17 and a half probably before I even start eating today. Jody, if you hadn't shared that with me, I would not have done it. Yes, Beth with her food prepping. Can you remember that? She came on and would tell us she's just been food prepping for the week. And I'm going, yeah, right, who does that? Well, the funny thing is, I don't feel that I'm organized now unless I've prepped my food for at least 2 days. And when I say organized, I know what will happen to me if I don't have my food prepped. And I do it 2 days in advance, so I know I've got enough food. It's like you need to go get more fruit because you don't have enough to prep for 2 days. You must love yourself before you love another. By accepting yourself and fully being what you are, your simple presence makes you and others happy. Rumi said, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built up against it. That's interesting, isn't it? What barriers have you built up against love? I wonder. It is never too late to be what you might have been. It is never too late to be what you might have been. Robert Morley, an English actor, said to fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness. And Jody is saying, no need to thank me. I beam with happiness every time you have a good day and feel better. Have a good blood sugar, and I see the glow that I am seeing right now. Right? It is interesting, isn't it, that I fight this battle, and I forget to congratulate myself for doing what I'm doing. I just see the negative of where I fall down. I thank you for that reminder, Jody. And I'm really want to say that it is really interesting to me where I keep going. This is what's happening. If I keep on doing what I'm doing right now, nothing will change. I need to change something else. And then I will change something else. It's like baby steps. And I go, okay, what can I do? As you know, I live by what I can do, not what I can't do. What else can I do? And one of the funny things that I did was to make myself a little snack pack every day. You know, the medium-sized baggie. You know, I literally buy popcorn and, you know, something nice like lobster chips or something, and a little bit of, I'll throw in a couple of bits of caramel corn so that I get something sweet every now and then. And then I will also throw in a little bit of trail mix. So when I get to the very bottom, I find the nuts and the seeds and things. And it's amazing how I look forward to my little, literally this much of my snack pack. Beth is saying, I backtracked a bit today. My daughter's ex-boyfriend, who beat her up and got hit by a car today and broke his legs. I had a smile on my face when I found out. I feel bad, but not. Am I a bad person? You know something? That is a judgment. What I want you to think about is the only way that you could feel that, Beth, in my sense anyway, is that it had to do with karma. He beat up your daughter and he just got beat up. I think what you smiled at was karma. Not that he got hurt, but what comes around, what goes around comes around, or comes around goes around. Right? And so now that you've had that moment, how about you wish him well in his recovery and you pray that he learns not to do that to other women. And you know, it's interesting that it's there for you to look at, Beth. And you know, I know you not to be a vindictive person. So what I'm saying, what my sense is this had to do with karma. You know, one of the things Jody's saying that's very honest to share that, but you know, Beth, one of the reasons you grow so quickly is because you do own your stuff so quickly. And just, we all have days where we're not very proud of ourselves. I had one recently that I did a vlog on, and I'm about to put another vlog on where I wasn't very proud of myself. But you know, to me, that's part of my growth, is to be able to know that I had these negative feelings. And I know that I will get judged for it, but you know, I want to just keep growing. And thank you, Jody, for giving Beth that hug. Beth is saying, you know, he's still the grandkid's father. It's hard. Yes, it is hard. But you will continue to do the best you can to be in balance, Beth. Christian Neff said, I found in my research that the biggest reason people aren't more self-compassionate is that they're afraid they'll become self-indulgent. They believe self-criticism is what keeps them in line. Most people have gotten it wrong because our culture says being hard on yourself is the way to be. And I think, as we've just seen from Beth, being truthful with yourself is the way to be. Because when you see it, you can see it wasn't that you were a bad person. It was about you recognized karma. You know, I asked the same thing, Beth. You know, somebody who did me wrong a while ago came back into my life and asked me to help them again. And, you know, I chose not to. My question was, does that make me a bad person, the same as you, Beth? And the answer is no. It made me somebody who is protecting myself. Twice bitten. Third time, go bite somebody else. I have other people I can help. I don't want to spend more time with somebody who doesn't want to grow. They just want to keep repeating the pattern. But that is not out of hate. That is about, I don't have the skills, obviously. I tried twice. You're still doing the same behaviors. That means, you know, I'm not the right person for you. You need somebody else. If you have the courage to deal with your stuff. And it is interesting how few people want to deal with their demons. They just want to deal with everybody else's, right? Howard Washington Thurman said, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself, what makes you come alive? And then go do that. Because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. Jody, what makes you come alive? All right. And you know, it's funny. I find that when I'm doing my artwork, I get into a zone. I don't know how to describe that. I make a big mess and I actually enjoy cleaning it up. Wow, that is interesting. Beth said, and I asked my daughter how hard it is now without him helping with the kids. And she said, not a dang thing. She did it all anyway. And now she can see that. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and I quote her often when talking about the cycle of loss. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross said, people are like stained glass windows. They sparkle and they shine when the sun is out. But when the darkness sets in, their true beauty is revealed only if there is light from within. Baron Katie said, do you want to meet the love of your life? Look in the mirror. To accept ourselves as we are means to value our imperfections as much as our perfections. To value our imperfections as much as our perfection. And Jody just answered me. She said, what gives her joy, energy, laughing, helping others, creative projects, cooking. And I can't help thinking that when I first met you, Jody, how many of those things had you given up in some way? You know, it's so wonderful to hear that you can think about them and do them again. That is, to me, the greatest gift. is that you have, come back into reality enough to be able to see that those things give you life. However little you may be able to do, those things give you life. It was said that until you value yourself, you will not value your time. And until you value your time, you will not do anything with it. I wonder. Hi, Benji. I wonder how many of you realize that. I find that with the internet and with all that we do, I seem to spend an awful lot of time not doing the things I need to do for myself. I'm busy on the internet researching stuff or doing things for other people. And what I do now is I have a task list that pops up in front of me, and I literally every hour will start at the top of that list and start again and go, okay, I went to go and do that task and I got totally sidetracked by all these other things. It's time to start again. And I literally take one more step. That's all I have to do. Take one more step. Sometimes that one more step may be to put something at the top of my staircase to remind me I need to go downstairs and do X, Y, and Z. Or, for example, I needed to replace something out on my front deck today. So what I did is that my one step was to put something next to that patio door so that I'd go, why is that? Oh yeah, I need to do something out there. And every hour I would keep starting again. And I was amazed how many hours went by before I actually got it done. But I did. The only person who can pull me down is myself. And I'm not going to let myself pull me down anymore. I'm going to repeat that. That's a good one, isn't it? The only person who can pull me down is myself. And I am not going to pull me down anymore. Above all, to thine own self be true. If you cannot put your heart into it, take yourself out of it. That is a good one. How many of you have found yourself doing things for other people when you really don't want to? And I will take you back to Mother Teresa's one thing that she looked for in people who came to help her. She said many people came, and she had just one test. And the one test was, could they do everything with a good mentality? Could they be as happy cleaning toilets as they were scrubbing the floor with a toothbrush? Could they be as happy, doing those things as they were praying? Could they be as happy doing those yucky things as they were helping tend to the sick? Beth is a prime example, right? Beth can do that. You control your mind to that degree, Beth. It is wonderful. And not only that, I hear that you sing while you're doing it. What an incredible way. It's just something to be done, right? It is something to be done. And if you are enjoying this broadcast, then remember to give it a thumbs up. If you are watching this and you haven't clicked the bell, know that when you do that, it will always let you know that we are about to do a broadcast. It will give you fair warning. And thank you for your contribution, Jody. I appreciate that. you know, if people have no idea of the time it takes or the money it takes to actually do all this. Too many people overvalue what they are not and undervalue what they are. Too many people overvalue what they are not and undervalue what they are. Are you one of those? Don't ever allow, wow, thank you, Beth. That's really kind. Happy birthday to the channel. How very kind of you. Thank you, Beth. Don't ever allow yourself to forget how incredibly special you are. Even for a second. Without you, the world would not be as magnificent. Let yourself remember to love again, starting with loving you. You know, looking after yourself takes time and it takes effort and it takes great courage. I'm thinking one of the ways that I check to see, am I caring for myself enough, is how many hours am I sleeping? Am I sleeping enough? And if I'm sleeping less than 6, the answer is no. And if I am sleeping less than 7, not much. If I sleep between 7 and 8, I give myself a really big bonus point for looking after myself. So one of the questions I would ask of you is, how many hours a night do you sleep? Are you doing the right things to help you sleep? Now, I can say that famous word, mitigating. There are mitigating factors why I can't sleep. I have a lot on my mind. I have big decisions that I have to make and all sorts of things at the moment. But you know, I will know when I have got back to my reality, when I can get back to sleeping properly. The other thing I notice as well is, by the way, when I was at the doctor, I don't know if I mentioned this, my heart rate was 135 over 65. that was a pretty widespread. But one of the things I check on, other than how much sleep am I getting, I check quite regularly what is my resting heart rate? Right? What is my resting heart rate? And as you can see, there was a moment there where I was under a lot of stress, and then I pulled it right back down. And then it started to climb again because I'm not getting enough sleep. But even so, there are an awful lot of people my age who would love to have a resting heart rate of 59. So don't let me get away. That's pretty darn good. Yeah, there was a 55 there. Isn't that amazing? And, my doctor just rolls his eyes at me and he goes, for a while, and I don't know if you know this, but for a while I was on heart medications. And I remember saying to my doctor, can I get off these? And he said, yeah, if you did the right thing. And, one of the reasons that I had to come off them was because, my figures were getting too low. And so this is something. Today is the channel's birthday. Yes. Thank you. That's very, very kind of you. Actually, it's 10:30 tonight is the actual time that we started. Benji started it. And I've got to give credit to Benji for doing that. I always remember him, doing it and going clip, 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 clip on my computer and then saying, we need to come up with a good name. I go, what's a good name? He said, well, people are going to write to you, so we need to have, a good name. And we came up with DearMamaSal, like you were writing a letter. And he said, yeah, I like that. That works. And I just carried on talking about something else, and he was, busy on the computer. And then he stopped and he said, there you go. You're now a YouTuber. And I go, what is that, honey? I had no idea what that was. And he said, well, I have to go home now. And he started to go down my stairs. And I said, no, Benji, you don't understand. I don't know how to do that. And he said, you'll work it out. Have fun. I cried. I cried so much that first month because I didn't know how to do that. And it was horrid. I didn't understand it. And I kept doing the wrong things. And, he was right. I worked it out. Beth is saying, I finally went to the MS doctor and I wasn't scared to hear the truth. Beth, if you can say that in that honesty, then you have found serenity. To be able to go to the doctor and hear that truth, all right, and not be scared by it is serenity. All right, so Beth is, can I repeat that, Beth? Because that's pretty personal stuff. Let me know if I can repeat it, honey. And you see, that is the whole thing. It is not about, okay, so Beth says that I may. All right, so Beth's saying, I have a few more lesions. That's part of the problem with MS, but thankfully not in a bad spot that would affect me. So even though that you found that you have more lesions, you are grateful for where they are. You see, that is incredible balance. It is out of my control, so why worry? Yes, exactly, Beth. It is beyond your control. So why worry? Right? Your job is to live today happily. Not worry about tomorrow. You might not make it to tomorrow, and neither may I. I keep being grateful for the work that we have done with DearMamaSal, because who knows if we will have another year, right? Who knows if we will be granted that. Niesha says, oh, all right, that's so nice. Yes, the name fits perfectly, DearMamaSal. Benji is a kind person for being an extension in helping and assisting others by creating this forum for us. May God bless him and his family. I agree. Yeah, sure. I give thanks to him regularly for doing that. And by the way, when we have a real success story, I always pass it on to both Benji and Judy and remind them that without their love, I would not be doing this. And we would not have these successes. But saying, I live healthily, so I do what I can. Yes, you see, Beth, that is it, isn't it? It's about what we can do. And it's back to the serenity prayer. Let us work on what we can do. And stop worrying so much about what we can't. The rest of it's beyond our control. To love ourselves, Oscar Wilde said, is the beginning of a lifelong romance. And somebody said, sometimes the noise of life can just be too much. If you need to escape, love yourself enough to know when you need a real time out. I wonder what your real time out is. For me, it definitely is to throw some paint around. When I feel overwhelmed, I know it's time to stop and paint. To make the time to do that. And it's funny, Niesha, I keep thinking about you making the things that you make out of cardboard. and thinking how creative that is and how that is doing something you can rather than worrying about things you can't. And I keep thinking that you could probably, build incredible things today with the things you've learned to do. And, I keep looking at things and going, oh, Nyasha would love this. So I want you to know I think about you a great deal when I'm busy creating with boxes and things that I'm keeping. Well, Nyasha, I have made a promise to myself that I actually do not pass messages on to them. And the reason that I did that is because you understand if I did for one, I would need to do it for millions. I cannot tell you how many people I actually have to say to them, I thank you for telling me, but I cannot pass this on for you. Because it would if I did it for you, I would need to do it for millions of people. And I just don't have it in my day to be able to do that. So I hope you understand. So what I would do is pass it on yourself and hope that he sees it. Right? And maybe he will. Or maybe put it in a comment somewhere on a vlog and put at Benji Man TV in the comments so that it will trigger him. Right? Yes, it's not my job to pass messages on for people. How many of you need to stop doing that? I wonder. How many of you have people come to you and say, well, why is so-and-so doing X, Y, and Z? And the answer is, you may want to ask him that. Well, why is so-and-so doing da 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 da? You need to ask him. Don't ask me, ask him. And so often we get caught up in this answering for other people when really it is not for us to do, and we end up in the middle of things we really don't want to be in the middle of. Respect, love, and value yourself. Always remember to be good to yourself by taking care of yourself. Make yourself a priority and know that it's okay. Don't feel guilty for loving yourself first. You're just as important as anybody else. Eleanor Roosevelt said, always remember that you not only have the right to be an individual, but you have the obligation to be one. I have an obligation to be who I am. So do you. Beth has an obligation to be all who she is. Nyasha has an obligation to be the best Nyasha she can be. And Jody, you have an obligation to be all who you are, because in being who you are, you affect so many other people. No other love, no matter how genuine it is, can fulfill one's heart better than unconditional self-love. We need to be more kind to ourselves. We need to forgive ourselves, and if we can't, we need others to help us. And that's what friends are for. Have you noticed that? I am so grateful for the friendships. I am so grateful to have people that I can, tell my truth to without getting judged for it. And by the way, I had a friend of mine accidentally judge me this week, a really good friend of mine. And it was so funny because I had to write back and say, for a moment there, I thought you judged me. And luckily, they had enough of sense of humor to write back and go, for a moment there, I think I did. And I am so sorry. And I said, it's okay. And I said the reason it's okay is because I know that, your heart wants the best for me and you were coming from that place. Luckily, I am very solid on the fact that I know that. And as Eleanor Roosevelt again said, no one, remember this, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. No one can make you feel less than without you agreeing to it. You see, when we hold ourselves in the right space, we will never feel less than. We will know that we're doing the best we can with the tools we have at the speed that is right for us. Others can't always define your true identity. They see what they want to see, but beyond your mess. God sees the beauty. He created that and still thinks it's good. Alan Cohen said to love yourself right now, just as you are, is to give yourself heaven. Don't wait until you die. If you wait, you die now. If you love, you live now. And this is a beautiful one. This says self-love is asking yourself what you need every day and then making sure you receive it. Think about that. What do I need today? I need to feel good about myself. Well, what are you going to do for yourself to create that? Because we cannot constantly wait for other people to do it for us. They've got their own lives they're working on. I need to get my finances in order. Well, what are you going to do about that? Are you going to take a couple of hours to sit down and get up to date? Because if you don't, then you will keep waiting for it to magically happen, and it won't. This has been an incredibly interesting year for me. I have learned a lot. And I'm certain that you have too. But the reason that we have learned a lot is we keep meeting like this. We keep challenging ourselves like this, and we keep telling the truth like this. And when we do these things, we keep growing like this. And one step at a time is a good speed, people. Understand that. I don't think we ever need to get it, if you know what I mean, in the huge package. I think our job is to keep learning and feel that the learning is helping us. I keep thinking about the example of my downsizing. Can you remember how I literally was doing one drawer at a time, one cubie at a time, one shelf at a time. And it took me a long time because some things I had to go back and do a second time. And guess what? I am now about to start and go through it again one more time before I move. Everything. One more time. And you're probably going, why do that? Well, because it will be less to move. It will save me time and money if I do it now. There are women who struggle to gain weight who are beautiful. There are women who struggle to lose weight who are beautiful. You know who is most beautiful? Those who learn to love themselves the way they are. You do not need to change for anyone. You do not need to change for anyone. And so, as I leave you today, I want you to know that you are beautiful and that you are well. And Beth, that it is wonderful that you can get your next prognosis and still see it in a positive light. I am always amazed at how Jody deals with all her worries. And, I've now got Nana telling me that Rick is sick in bed. With what, Nana? And Jody, can you remind me later tonight to put up some thoughts and prayers for Rick? I won't have time until later, but I wonder if you could just remind me of that. And if you can let me know, are we talking something serious or obviously it's serious to you, otherwise you wouldn't be worried. Oh, that is sad. That is always sad when anybody is sick to their stomach. Right. So I am going to need to go now and get on with things that I need to do. If you're that worried, Nana, maybe get him to a clinic or an ER. But my feeling is that this, I worrying yourself sick is not going to help him. Getting him, I'm certain you're giving him the things that you know. You were going to take him to merge, but he went back to sleep. Okay. You know something, Nana? Why not phone the nurses line? I'm trying to remember what that number is, 811 or something. If you just type in nurses online, it'll tell you what that number is. It's like a 611 or a 511 or, one of those numbers. And, you can probably talk to a nurse and tell her what's going on, and she'll let you know whether you need to get him. You let her know what you're worried about. All right, everybody. So I'm off to go cook dinner. Tonight it's just Yvonne and myself. And so we're going to have mac and cheese. As you know, I make a mean mac and cheese. And we haven't had it for a while. So I'm really looking forward to that. I want to thank you all for joining us on this Soul Sunday, where we just slow down and take it easy. Look after one another because that is who you are. But remember, as we've been saying, it's really important to start by looking after yourself. I wish you all a wonderful, peaceful week. A week full of love, a week full of joy and creativity and peace. This is DearMamaSal saying, bye. Bye-bye for now.